Shu is a 20-year-old loser whose parents were eliminated by demonic entities when he was a child. However, his own girlfriend is also a pink-haired demon chick, whom he can clap any second and power her up like a nuclear reactor. This duo together runs a shady private military company, but they are so bad at their job that they both always end up broke.
I'm going full strength to finish this off.
Now can you lower your sword from...
One afternoon in the bustling Bayron city, a demon hazard named Kisara is on her way to Shu's apartment, which also doubles up as her office. She realizes that Shu has locked the door to the apartment and thus uses her magical abilities to sneak in through the wall. She is determined to cook him a meal, but soon discovers that the electricity has been cut off because Shu hasn't paid the bill for well over 3 months now. Despite this setback, Kisara decides to make dinner by candlelight. Meanwhile, Shu goes to a restaurant and meets one of his ex-girlfriend, Ayano, who watches him stuff his face with food like he has never eaten before. She treats him to lunch since he doesn't have any money, and then, just like any other ex-girlfriend, nags him to get a real job. But Shu, who doesn't care about anything other than eating, quickly changes the topic in order to divert her from his pathetic life. After eating, he leaves the restaurant and heads back toward his house, where he is greeted by the beautiful Kisara. She has set up a candlelight dinner for him, not out of romance, but because they both are so broke that they can't afford to pay the electricity bill yet. Initially, Shu tries to wriggle his way out of eating dinner because he is still full from the heavy lunch that Ayano paid for. He makes up a lie and tells Kisara that he has been eating out recently due to his work. This makes Kisara incredibly frustrated, and she begins to emotionally blackmail Shu, saying that she made the dinner despite not being fully well for the past 3 days. Upon hearing this, Shu finally agrees to eat, and they both sit down at the table. Thankfully, right then, the bell rings and Shu uses this opportunity to excuse himself from the spot. He goes to the door and finds that a deliveryman is there with a huge parcel that he had shopped for earlier that week. However, since he doesn't have the money to pay for it, Kisara has to come to the rescue and foot the bill. Later, she reminds Shu that she only had 1 month's worth of money left with her, but after paying for the package, that too is gone. Kisara dramatically tells him that there is now no choice for them but to drink poison and end their lives. In fact, she even takes a selfie with Shu and a poison bottle and uploads it to her Instagram account. But she has only one follower, Shu, who tells her not to be so theatrical and promises that he will pay her back. The next day, Shu logs into a program and gets transported to a meeting attended by several other individuals who own private military companies just like him. They are all gathered here to bid on their next case, which will involve getting rid of a demon hazard. An auctioneer shows the group surveillance footage of a Class C demon and asks them to bid on it, and reminds them that the company willing to take the job for the lowest price gets the assignment. Soon, the bidding starts, and several companies bid around $120,000 and even higher for the case. However, Shu ends up winning the auction by undercutting every other company by more than 50%, snagging the job but seriously pissing everyone else off. Once the bidding is over, he contacts a company owned by Ayano's mother and asks for backup, to which she agrees, but at a steep price. Afterwards, Shu meets Ayano near the hotel where the demon is hiding out, and they quickly head inside with a small team of soldiers. But as they approach the door, it explodes as the demon clearly doesn't appreciate guests, and Shu peeks in to see that the demon has summoned a horde of minions, only to get a confirmation of his suspicions. They rush inside and begin fighting the minions first. Once the minions are cleared out, Shu tells Ayano to provide cover while he sneaks around to get a shot at the boss demon. He lands the shot, but unsurprisingly, the demon doesn't go down and sends him flying with a punch. The demon then tries to finish him off by launching its arm toward him. But right then, Kisara swoops in and slices the arm clean off like a swift, demonic surgeon and saves Shu's backside once again. As the battle rages on, the demon summons more minions. She charges at the boss demon with her sword, but the latter blasts her away quite easily. She falls near Shu and tells him she hasn't worked in the past 3 months and is completely out of power. Apparently, according to their contract, which was probably created by some incel, Kisara's full powers can only be activated by a kiss. Shu kisses her, and just like that, she transforms into her overpowered demon form. On the other hand, the boss demon summons even more minions, but this time, Kisara has absolutely no trouble wiping them out one after the other. She, as well as Ayano, continues to fight all the enemies around them, and while all this chaos is going on, they accidentally back up into one another. Suddenly, Kisara catches the same scent that she had got from Shu the previous day while having dinner. She immediately realizes that Shu had lied to her and he was with Ayano. Shu then passes a sarcastic comment saying that there are loads of cats around who want to lick milk that doesn't belong to them. Enraged, Kisara begins to slice through the minions, and after finishing them all, she and Ayano come face to face again. The two women have absolutely no love lost between them, and after a bit of bickering, they begin to throw hands at each other. Kisara tries to slash Ayano, who dodges and retaliates by shooting, but Kisara dodges the bullet effortlessly. A fierce battle breaks out between them, forcing Shu to jump in and stop these two from tearing each other apart. This only makes Kisara more upset, thinking Shu prefers Ayano's larger assets over her cute ones. She starts attacking Shu out of jealousy, swinging at him repeatedly while he keeps dodging like his life depends on it. To calm her down, Shu gives Kisara his apartment key, which works like magic and makes the gold digger happy. With her mood restored, she turns her attention back to the demon and charges in, eliminating every minion in her path. Together with Ayano, who lands the first sword slash, and Shu, who finishes the demon off with his gun, they finally defeat the threat. However, just as everything looks to be under control, the whole building starts to shake. Shu tells everyone that they should immediately get out of the spot, as this whole place will soon come crumbling down. So, everyone runs out to relative safety, while Kisara cuts the large pieces of the falling debris into smaller ones so that the damage done is minimal. Below, Ayano watches her in action and thinks that even a sea-level demon didn't stand a chance against Kisara, as she herself is an A-level demon. Early next morning, Shu wakes up to have his breakfast and notices that it is the same basic, boring food as always that Kisara has cooked for him. He shakes his head in disappointment, then looks over to find Kisara working on a laptop and asks her what she's doing. She replies that she is trying to manage their finances by starting an OnlyFans page, as thanks to his stupidity, they've lost all of the money they earned because of collateral damage, making them completely broke once again. Shortly afterward, Kisara moves out of the house to find a part-time job so that she can sustain herself and Shu's life. At the train station, she meets up with a bunch of her friends who make fun of Shu for not earning any money. But she tells them that he is her photographer and will help her grow famous on social media. Suddenly, a blonde man named Mikhail walks up to them with extreme arrogance, as he's the president of the student council and also the son of the mayor. He also seems to be a massive simp for Kisara and invites her to the mayor's party in the town hall that evening. But Kisara leaves without saying another word. Shu, on the other hand, goes off to find Ayano at the gym, where she's working out. He keeps pestering her, asking her to give him a job or talk to someone at the company since her mother is the president of such a large private military company. But Ayano tells him that his style of demon slaying is way too destructive and always gives the company a bad name, as he ends up causing extreme damage. He begs her to give him a chance, promising not to stalk her anymore, and she finally ends up trying to call her mom to find a job for him because she still has some feelings left. However, as soon as she picks up her phone, she notices an Instagram post by Kisara in which she's posing with Shu in his apartment. This enrages Ayano so much that she changes her mind on the spot, and she tells him to piss off. That evening, at the office of ALA Defender and Company, the secretary of the mayor comes up to Ayano's mom and tells her that they suspect there might be an assassination attempt on the mayor, and it could be from a demon. So, they want a team from her company on standby in case anything happens. She initially seems reluctant to take the job, but agrees when she remembers Shu, who is in dire need of money. Thus, she eventually agrees and sends Shu and Kisara alongside Ayano and her team to deal with the situation. Shu stands guard near a hallway, where he is approached by Miles, the baldy who took care of him after his parents' death. They start talking about demons, and Miles gives him a big black cigarette, telling him to come back and visit the hood once for dinner, as the gang misses him. But Shu wants nothing but cancer and asks him for more cigarettes. Kisara, on the other hand, is inside the party and is extremely happy to see so much food in front of her. She takes out a small Tupperware from her skirt and thinks about saving some food to take back home. But suddenly, Mikhail approaches her and starts talking about how he can donate a lot of money to her. Thankfully, the mayor starts speaking, and they all stand, as the speech is broadcast throughout the entire city. He talks about the basic stuff that every corrupt politician talks about, like equality, jobs, and a better quality of life. Suddenly, Shu sees a rather angry demon who has decided to finish off the mayor live on TV so that everyone in the city will know that he identifies as a Sigma male. Usually, when a person transforms into a demon, they lose their humanity, but this one seems to retain his humanity and is able to think and talk like a normal person. He phases through a wall behind the mayor and is about to stab him in the rear side when Kisara notices the disturbance and quickly jumps on him. The demon is shocked at her surprising speed as she pulls him behind and throws him against a pillar, where he is attacked by Ayano and her team. She tells her team to seal the venue as the demon tries to run away, and she starts running after him. Her dress gets caught, so she shoots her dress in half like a total girl boss and proceeds to run after him with a speed boost. While the demon phases through walls, Kisara phases through the wall as well and appears before him. But the demon dodges her attack and blocks the bullets that were shot at him before phasing through the floor. Fortunately, Ayano is already present on the floor below and shoots him in the head twice. The demon falls down but gets up again and phases through the wall before emerging behind her for an attack, only to be stopped by Kisara, who kicks him away. Ayano runs and points a gun at him, but the demon starts talking again, telling her that they need to show the city how the mayor is actually a degenerate old swine. This makes Ayano stop, realizing that this one still retains his humanity. Taking advantage of the momentary distraction, the demon quickly phases down again, and Kisara gets mad at Ayano for letting him escape. Shu, the useless loser, finally hears the commotion and swings through a window to attack the demon in one of the server rooms, where Kisara arrives shortly. He and Kisara corner the demon and are about to eliminate him when Shu gets a call from Ayano's mom. She tells Shu that the demon still possesses a human brain and is to be captured alive at all costs. This is a big problem, as none of them have the weapons required to capture a demon, and they've never done it before. They only know how to eliminate them. Kisara says she might try to hit the demon with the back of her sword, but that is still dangerous, so Shu goes online and starts looking at lethal weapons on Amazon. But Kisara stops him, telling him that the equipment costs just as much as they're going to earn from this job. They're bickering amongst themselves when the demon finds an opening and jumps down the building. Shu and Kisara both look out of the window, while Kisara tells Shu that if he buys the gadget, he'll have to eat only air for the next month. He, however, looks at her and orders the equipment, telling her that he'll take more saucy pictures of her for Instagram. Amazon comes in clutch by sending the super fast delivery, and as soon as the demon reaches the ground, a truck pulls in and hits the demon, knocking him out. Shu descends down, and a strong, independent woman comes out of the truck and gives him the weapon to capture the demon that he doesn't even need now. The demon is put on a stretcher and taken to the hospital, while both Kisara and Shu return home. A few days later, Shu has a nightmare where he sees his younger sister, Kana, running away, scared of someone. She's searching for her mom, dad, and brother, but suddenly, a sword pierces her stomach. Because of this, something strange like a curse starts entering her body, But right at that moment, Shu wakes up. Like every horrible young son staying away in a big city, he misses his mom, dad, and his sister. He then grabs a family photo from nearby and notices that Kisara has taped her photo in the frame as well. Shu rubs it and tries to take Kisara's picture out. Meanwhile, in some discreet laboratory, a man is running with a box-like structure while being chased by police officers with guns. The police receive an order from their headquarters to retrieve the core at any cost. Following this, they shoot the man, causing him to fall and drop the box on the floor. At the same time, the man receives a phone call in which a voice says that he had warned the man that no human could complete this mission. The voice adds that he has made 3 plans based on the man's soul budget: B class, C class, and D class. Just as the police surround the man, he screams at his phone and says that he wants the most powerful one, after which the phone starts glowing. Elsewhere, Kisara and Shu are having dinner in their apartment under candlelight as usual. Kisara checks her phone and says that the entire city is suffering from a power outage. Shu responds with bewilderment and asks if the whole city has become poor like them. Kisara mentions that even the trains have stopped and wonders if she'll be able to go to school tomorrow. Just then, a letter arrives at Shu's door, which he picks up and promptly reads. He then tells Kisara that he doesn't think she will have the time to go to school anymore. The next day, an important meeting is being held in the mayor's office between the mayor and 2 government officials. They are discussing a deceased worker who once worked in one of the power plants in Bayron City. One of the officials suggests that the worker might have been a spy from another country, and the other suggests that he was likely after refined orgonium technology. The first official agrees and explains that Bayron City was built for mining and orgonium, which is a next-generation energy source. She adds that the state-of-the-art algorithm-related technology that built this city is a highly important secret, and many countries are obsessed with this technology. She points out that over the past 5 years, 30 spies have infiltrated the city, one of whom caused chaos and created a demon hazard. When asked how they'll handle it, she says they can't hide a demon hazard from the media. However, the official has a cover-up story ready, and she hands the mayor a letter to sign so that she can officially proceed with the story. While this is happening, Ayano and Shu meet in a park where Ayano asks why Shu called her there. The latter explains that there's no electricity where he lives, and it's tough in the old town. Ayano tells him to stop waffling about and get to the point, as she left work to meet him. Shu awkwardly asks if she works in such clothes, referring to the drop shoulder and rather short skirt she is wearing. Ayano says she wore them because she was in a hurry and urges him to start whatever he called her for. Then, Shu shows her a photo of a top-secret B-class giant caterpillar-like monster and says that although the monster is huge, he and Kisara can handle it easily. Ayano asks if he's planning to kill the monster, to which Shu assures that he won't let her down. However, just like any ex-girlfriend, Ayano starts reminding him of past disappointments. Shu went to a dating party right before their date. He didn't show up for her birthday. He quit the company without telling her, and made a demon girl his partner. Although Shu has no recollection of all these events, he is shocked and apologizes for hurting her. Unbeknownst to them, Kisara overhears this conversation while hiding near a waterfall. Later, Shu and other hunters gather at an auction where the bidding process for the B-rank caterpillar demon is taking place. The chief bids 200,000, but some hunters argue it's a B-rank monster worth at least 500,000. Once again, Shu, who had been sitting quietly until now, undercuts every single company by a large margin, which pisses them off so much that they start planning to beat him up. Meanwhile, Miles and his partner Tetsuya are checking Shu's and Kisara's profiles and discussing them. Back at the auction, the auctioneer stops the bickering and announces that the current bids have been cancelled because a new objective has presented itself. Apparently, the caterpillar demon has eaten a radioactive core that was supposed to power the entire city for a week. Now, they have to retrieve the core before destroying the demon. Shu persists and tells them that it doesn't matter as he still wants to do the job for the same money, even after the new condition, surprising everyone, as someone needs to be completely broke in order to take a job like this. Later that day, they arrive at the location, and Ayano goes with her team to try to capture the demon safely. But before they can do anything, the caterpillar demon changes into a massive demon moth. The demon destroys all of the flying drones before targeting the ground units, taking them out one by one. Ayano starts running away in her car, but is attacked again, while Shu watches all of this like a loser from a distance. Finally, Kisara arrives behind him, and he immediately kisses her, giving her the power she needs. By that time, the demon has targeted Ayano, and just before a giant boulder could fall on her, Kisara arrives and slashes the boulder into pieces. She then flies toward the demon, dodging its attacks, and stabs it in the backside, forcing the demon to back off. The ugly moth shoots energy rays at her, which she dodges effortlessly, then attacks again and again before stabbing and slashing at the demon's body, weakening its outer armored shell. Shu takes advantage of this and pulls out his sniper rifle, shooting the demon straight in its exposed part. The impact pushes the demon back. As a last-ditch effort to save itself, the demon tries to shoot a massive energy ray, but Shu loads another bullet and fires at the exact same point, finishing it off instantly. At a safe distance away, Miles and Tetsuya, who have been watching the entire fight, note that the police had to rely on Shu in the end. Meanwhile, Kisara is taking something from the monster's carcass when Ayano approaches and asks if she needs to say thank you. Kisara says that she can say it if she wants to, but right then she starts recalling Ayano's memories from Shu's mind. These memories include their dating day, which makes Kisara feel sad, and she apologizes to Ayano. The very next day, Ayano is called to the shipyard due to a fight between two opposing mafia groups. One of them had apparently made a contract and turned into a demon, ruthlessly slaughtering members of the enemy gang. She walks into an empty shed and finds a bunch of gang members massacred on the ground, while several others are severely wounded. As she walks ahead, she suddenly notices the shiny reflection of a gun barrel before the demon hazard opens fire. She quickly takes cover and orders one of the agents to try shooting the beast with a sniper rifle, while another fires a rocket launcher to bombard the demon, taking it down like a B-grade action hero. Later, Miles tells them they were lucky to survive, as the demon wasn't a high-ranking one and was unalived relatively easily. Once the dust settles down, Ayano looks around and sees a young man being carried into an ambulance, while his girlfriend cries from the crowd, begging to stay by his side. Meanwhile, Shu is sitting with Kisara, enjoying a candlelight dinner since his apartment has no electricity. The next day, when they're about to go out, Shu tells Kisara that they'll be having a luxurious dinner to celebrate their first paycheck hitting their bank account. However, right at that moment, a car suddenly pulls up in front of their house, and Mikhail, aka the beta simp, steps out. He's there to meet Kisara and try to win her over with his money and fancy lifestyle. But Kisara, being the best girl and not like your ex-girlfriend, stays loyal and tells Mikhail to back off. The latter gets mad and starts getting confrontational with Shu, who barely reacts. Suddenly, Kisara notices Ayano driving by with a man dressed in black. Curious and a little jealous, she decides to stalk them like a total creep and starts following them around without their knowledge. She tails them to a park, where she sees them having a serious conversation. Kisara sees an opportunity and snaps a few photos, then posts the pictures to Instagram. Shu gets a notification about this, and upon seeing the photos, he immediately rushes to the park, apologizing to both Ayano and the man for Kisara's behavior. The man introduces himself as Tetsuya, a special investigator from the Anti-Demon Bureau. He explains that he's working on a case involving the recent mafia activity that Ayano is tangled in. He also tells Shu that he's investigating the demon who murdered Shu's family, something Shu had personally requested him to look into. This completely sets Shu off, and he yells at Ayano, accusing her of making that decision without consulting him first. While he's busy ranting about emotions and justice, the investigator gets a phone call from the police. He's informed that Tony, the young man whose girlfriend was crying at the crime scene earlier, has just been eliminated in the hospital. Upon hearing this news, Shu immediately heads over to the hospital and meets with Miles, who reports that by the time he arrived, Tony was already dead and the perpetrator was nowhere to be found. The investigator wonders whether it was a demon hazard, but Miles says it's unlikely. Miles tells them that the weapon used in the crime was just a plain knife marked with the enemy gang's logo. Later that evening, Shu waits outside Ayano's hotel, and when she answers his call, he apologizes for the scene at the park. But Ayano shuts him down, telling him to just go home. Shu insists they should work together, but she tells him off harshly, saying he never considers how his actions affect others. She reminds him of the time when they were still dating, a night when she had been waiting for him to come home, but he'd been out chasing a demon hazard instead. But Shu stares at her blankly, revealing he doesn't remember any of that. This is enough to emotionally break Ayano, and she runs off in tears. Meanwhile, the investigator is called to a new crime scene, and he realizes that the members of the gang who allegedly eliminated Tony seem to have turned on each other. When he arrives, he finds the place completely torn apart, while slashed open bodies are scattered on the floor. On the other side of the city, Ayano is crying beneath a bridge when she's approached by Kisara. The latter reveals that she's the one who holds all of Shu's missing memories. She tells Ayano that she and Shu have a contract, one that allows her to feed on his memories whenever she wants. In fact, she's been deliberately erasing his memories of Ayano, so he wouldn't fall back in love with her. Ayano is stunned and disgusted, but Kisara doesn't seem to care about Shu's real emotions and only wants to keep him for herself, like some psycho Reddit mod gatekeeping his subreddit. Furious, Ayano gets up and walks away into the darkness, warning Kisara to never speak to her again. Back in town, Shu, who is troubled and deep in thought about what Ayano is going through, decides to let out some steam by going out for a smoke. As he is chilling around, an arrow pierces a trash can near him without any warning. It carries a note revealing the location of the gang's headquarters, and without hesitation, Shu grabs a bike and speeds off to the spot. When he arrives, he finds a police blockade outside the building. Ignoring everyone, he charges in with a gun like a budget version of Rambo. Inside, he sees a beautiful woman in a red dress slicing down gang members with a sword. One of them tries to shoot her, but she dodges and slits his throat with terrifying ease. Shu jumps in and starts shooting at her, but she effortlessly dodges his shots and runs into the men's bathroom. He follows, only to realize the whole place is full of mirrors. Shu knows that while it might be an aesthetic background for selfies, it makes combat a nightmare. The woman suddenly appears behind him from within a mirror, and Shu opens fire, only for her to dodge every bullet. In a moment of brilliant strategy making, Shu shoots most of the mirrors to reduce visual confusion, but by the time he's done, the woman has already vanished without a trace. Shu then exits the bathroom just as the investigator arrives to back him up. Right outside the bathroom, they find one gang member still barely alive. They rush to him and ask if there are any demon hazards within Tony's gang. The dying man reveals something shocking. The demon who just finished them off wasn't part of any gang, but it was Tony's girlfriend herself. With this shocking revelation, everyone is stunned as they had believed this was a typical mafia war, but now it's something else entirely. It appears to be a deeply personal act of revenge orchestrated by Tony's girlfriend. Just as Ayano is heading back to her home, the mysterious demon woman Shu has been tracking appears and leaps to attack her. Just in time, Kisara intervenes, blocking the demon's strikes and saving Ayano. Meanwhile, Shu, on a call with Kisara, the demon manages to escape from the sight of the two women. Following this, Kisara hands Ayano a gun and says that they need to catch the demon quickly before she can attack them. Seconds later, Kisara notices the demon emerging through a window right behind Ayano. The demon injures Ayano's arm, but the latter manages to fire back. Despite their valiant efforts, the demon escapes again, vanishing into a small mirror. Kisara follows her into the mirror to catch her, but instead she ends up getting stuck inside like it is some step-bro movie. Soon afterwards, Shu himself rushes to the scene alongside police officers, but when he arrives, he only finds a wounded Ayano and a stuck Kisara calling out for his help in agony. Later that night, Shu and Detective Tatsuya have a chat inside a local diner. The detective mentions that Ayano has been given security by the anti-demon organization and is now in a safe shelter. He then asks Shu how he got the information about this B-class demon so fast. Shu, being the liar that he is, refuses to answer and replies that he runs a business, so he can't tell the detective about his sources. At the shelter, Akino, Ayano's mother, arrives with a bag of essentials, including food and clothes. Ayano notices her mother avoiding eye contact and asks why she is acting like her ex-boyfriend. Akino explains she's been told not to look directly into Ayano's eyes as it might draw the demon to their location. Meanwhile, Tatsuya tells Shu that Beiron City's troubles began at its founding, sparked by individuals who became superhuman demon hazards. He references someone named Isamu, a disaster prevention consultant whose advice led to an inspection. Shu shares that his father told him about this, noting that within a year, the city became a haven for demons. On the other hand, Akino shares the same history with Ayano, recounting how Shu's parents and sister, Kana, were at an auction during a massive explosion that engulfed them. Ayano asks why Shu was in such a place when he was barely 12 years old at the time. Akino clarifies it was inspection day, with minimal police, so attendees brought families, treating it like a field trip. When Ayano presses for details on the mine incident, Akino admits she doesn't know, saying only one survivor remains and the authorities are still seeking answers. Akino also notes the government blamed Shu's father, accusing him of colluding with demons to link the city to their realm. Back at the cafe, Tatsuya challenges Shu, suggesting his unknown source, feeding him clues about the incident 12 years ago, might be manipulating him or even the one who framed his father. He offers to collaborate, promising to uncover who's using Shu if he shares all his information. He then once again urges Shu not to trust a faceless informant. Later, Tetsuya meets with his partner Miles, revealing he got information from Shu. Showing Miles a photo, he says Ayano and Shu suspect the man in it, though they only have this single image of him. Shortly afterwards, these two police officers reach the building where the man in the photo lives. Miles cautions his partner that informing Shu would jeopardize their chance to catch him. Then, Tetsuya knocks, but since no one answers, they enter the room. To their utter horror, they find the dead and also notice that he has been eliminated recently. Tetsuya realizes that someone had anticipated their arrival, while Miles points to writing at the scene that says, "One more person." Back in the shelter, Ayano is sitting on a couch, sipping juice, when she hears a noise and assumes it's her mother returning. Instead, Shu appears, and a flustered Ayano asks why he's there. He grins, saying he won a deal and wants to share the news, but Ayano brushes him off and tells him to leave. Shu insists he can't, as he aims to catch the demon to free her from quarantine. In response, Ayano questions whether Tetsuya is helping him uncover the truth about 12 years ago, asking what if the rumors are true that his father allied with demons. Shu admits that if these rumors are indeed true, he would owe everyone an apology. He adds that his father trained Akino, who later trained him after his father's death. Ayano bitterly retorts that he abandoned them once he no longer needed their company. Shu corrects her, saying Akino expelled him upon discovering their relationship. Ayano counters that they could have started a new company together. As night falls, they sit together, talking, and Shu confides that he feels his sister Kana is still alive. Shocked, Ayano draws closer, but she has no interest in his trauma dumping, and instead only wants some action. She covers his eyes and kisses him, and when Shu asks why, she closes his eyes. Ayano says it's to keep the demon at bay. She then kisses him again, passionately. Later that same night, the demon teleports into the shed where Ayano is currently being housed and slashes apart furniture in a rage while looking for her. Kisara also arrives on the scene and immediately engages the demon in a high-speed sword fight. Their blades clash at blinding speed, and during the battle, Kisara spots Ayano hiding behind a corner and, without any warning, charges at her and headbutts her to the ground. Fuming with jealousy, Kisara accuses Ayano of being a home-wrecking vixen for trying to seduce Shu. Ayano tries to deny it, claiming she would never touch a loser like Shu, but Kisara isn't buying it. Kisara warns her to shut her mouth or she'll metaphorically stick her sword down her throat. Meanwhile, the demon shatters all the glass in the shed. Shu suddenly feels a sword pressed to his back, but realizes it's just Kisara again. She's furious and demands he give her all his energy so she can finally end this. She then violently kisses him, feeding off his energy and memories as part of their contract. Shu collapses afterward as his memories of the night are wiped clean. Meanwhile, with renewed power, Kisara charges at the demon, unleashing a flurry of attacks. The demon blocks most of them and then disappears into the ground, reappearing to strike Kisara from behind. Just as the demon is about to deliver the finishing blow, Shu leaps in and elbows her away. He tries to follow up with a punch, but the demon retreats, attempting to phase through the wall to escape. Thinking fast, Shu hurls an anti-demon projectile at her, and it lands squarely in her chest, halting her mid-teleport. Kisara seizes the moment, dashing forward and stabbing the demon in the exact same spot and finishing her off once and for all. A few weeks later, it is revealed that Kisara has been missing for several days, having run away from Shu after their last battle. Since then, she hasn't returned home, nor has she made any attempt to contact him. Growing more and more concerned about her well-being, Shu makes several efforts to reach her, but receives no response. Frustrated and desperate for answers, he turns his attention toward another mystery: the informant who has been providing him with highly classified intelligence. Shu meticulously plans an ambush, hoping to confront the informant directly. That afternoon, he travels to a train station and sits on a nearby bench, watching intently. Eventually, the informant arrives and, without revealing his identity, instructs Shu to retrieve a tablet from inside a garbage can. He complies, and as he powers it on, a video begins to play which shows a blonde girl ruthlessly fighting against police officers and demon hunting companies, displaying strength and skills that immediately catch Shu's attention. Before he can ask any further questions, the informant tries to flee. Shu gives chase, but despite his best efforts, the informant manages to evade capture once again. Later that day, Shu attends another demon auction meeting, where the topic of this mysterious blonde woman comes up again. Meanwhile, Ayano is having a serious conversation with her mother, Akino. In a surprising revelation, Akino tells her that she is a part of a powerful organization based in Europe that has been eradicating demons for over 1,000 years. She also reveals that she was the one who personally recruited Shu into the organization. Ayano is taken aback, especially when Akino hints that Shu once remembered her, though he no longer seems to recall anything about her or their shared past. While heading back to his apartment, Shu receives a sudden call from Ayano. When he answers, he's startled to hear her yelling at him to stay away from his apartment immediately. At first, he thinks she's joking, but the urgency in her voice quickly convinces him otherwise. Dropping his bag, Shu pulls out his gun and prepares for the worst. In a sudden flash, his door is kicked open, and he's thrown across the room. The blonde woman from the video, whose name is revealed to be Sharon, charges in after him. She immediately attempts to stomp on him with brutal force like he is some pest that she doesn't like. Shu tries to reach for his weapon, but she swiftly blocks his arm with her foot and launches a ferocious attack, and another powerful blow that sends him flying. Before he can recover, Sharon leaps on top of him and begins punching him repeatedly in the face, completely overwhelming him. Just as things look grim, Kisara suddenly appears and strikes at Sharon with her sword from behind. However, Sharon reacts quickly, dodging the attack and leaping away from the strike with incredible agility. As the two women face off for their catfight, it becomes clear that Kisara knows Sharon and is visibly shaken by her presence. Despite her usual confidence, Kisara seems wary and possibly even afraid of the powerful and mysterious entity now standing before her. Following this, Sharon calls Kisara the most powerful demon slayer and demands that the latter hand over her sword. Sharon also smugly reminds Kisara that they have met before and she had actually beaten Kisara. In response, Kisara says that the last time they met, both Sharon and Shu were fighting together. In a flashback scene from 3 years ago, Sharon and Shu were engaged in a deadly battle against Kisara. Just as Kisara leaves Shu's throat, Sharon stabs her with a sword right through the stomach. An enraged Shu questions what she is doing, but before Sharon can say anything, Kisara renews her attack on them. However, eventually, Sharon manages to land a thunderous kick on Kisara and imprison her in a magical cast. Back in the present time, the two women are face to face as the tension keeps on rising. Suddenly, they lunge at each other and engage in a fierce fight in which both are equally matched in power. However, their battle is interrupted by Ayano, who arrives at the spot with backup support, and Sharon uses this opportunity to flee. Following this, Kisara immediately runs to Shu, who is knocked unconscious. She leans in to kiss him, but Ayano pulls her hair from behind and tells her to control herself. A few hours later, Shu has been admitted to the hospital and remains unconscious following the intense battle. Both Kisara and Ayano stay by his side, worried and waiting for him to wake up. However, Kisara suddenly receives a text notification on her phone and quietly slips away, leaving Ayano to look after Shu. She follows the message's coordinates to an abandoned building and, upon arrival, checks the contents of the text. Just then, her phone rings, and it is none other than the blonde vixen Sharon. On the call, Sharon taunts Kisara, telling her that she is a loser who has no one of her own in this world. Realizing this is a setup, Kisara summons her sword and prepares for battle. Before she can locate Sharon's exact position, she is shot from above, which debilitates her temporarily. Wounded, Kisara scrambles for cover, dodging another round of bullets. Peeking from her hiding spot, she spots Sharon, who is now equipped in a high-grade specialized mecha suit and is hunting her down with cold precision. Sharon opens fire again, but Kisara manages to block most of the bullets with her sword and rushes forward, trying to land an attack. However, Sharon's armor deflects her blow, and moments later, a demonic, slime-like substance emerges from the suit and attacks Kisara. She tries cutting through the projections, but one of them pierces her leg. Kisara staggers away, but to her utter horror, she realizes that her wound isn't healing like other times. Sharon, who starts getting arrogant like she has just conquered the world, explains that high-level demons like Kisara are immune to ordinary human-made weapons, but they are vulnerable to demonic attacks, like the one Sharon is currently using. As Kisara attempts to retreat, Sharon blocks her path using more demonic projections. Kisara raises her sword for another strike, but Sharon is faster than her. She drives one of her weapons straight into Kisara's torso, bringing her to the ground. Sharon then approaches her, like the villain from a sci-fi movie, ready to finish her off. Right at this moment, without any warning, a sudden flashbang grenade goes off. Shu, having regained just enough strength, comes in like a Chad and drags Kisara behind a pillar. Despite being weak, he kisses her, which transfers all his energy into her. The boost revitalizes Kisara, and as Shu collapses from exhaustion, she begins to glow with renewed power. Finally, after a lengthy battle, her wounds begin to heal rapidly. Sharon fires at her again, but this time, Kisara dodges every bullet with ease. She charges forward, slicing through one of Sharon's robotic arms. Sharon tries to strike at Shu in desperation, but Kisara intercepts her mid-attack and unleashes a fierce series of aerial strikes. Eventually, Sharon's armor begins to fall apart, as if they were made of cardboard. Finally, Kisara thrusts her sword deep into Sharon's mecha suit, completely destroying it and knocking her unconscious. With Sharon defeated, Kisara picks up Shu and carries him to safety. After a while, Shu comes back to his senses and he sits down to have a chat with Kisara. He asks why she went so unnecessarily hard on a human like Sharon. But Kisara tells him that Sharon isn't any ordinary human. She is one of the powerful members of a group called Celestial Abbey. Upon hearing this, Shu questions why a member of such a powerful group would come to Bayron City at this time. Kisara, like a child who has done something wrong but wants to hide it, immediately switches up the topic and says that the two of them should go and have dinner at home. As there is nothing Shu likes more than food, he agrees to the proposal, and the duo heads home. Seconds later, Ayano arrives at the spot with 2 cups of coffee, only to realize that the pink-haired Kisara has stolen her man. A few days later, in Shu's house, Detective Tetsuya and Miles have a conversation with Shu about the recent events. Tetsuya explains why a powerful human like Sharon, who is related to the Celestine Abbey, came to Bayron City and what her true intentions are. He also discusses the recent murder case of a detective, suggesting that the detective might have been a mediator who facilitated contracts between demons and humans. Miles says that this could explain why someone killed the detective before they could reach him. Meanwhile, Kisara prepares dinner for Shu in the kitchen, just as Tetsuya adds that there could be other agents working to fulfill demonic objectives. He then brings up the mysterious informant who always supplies Shu with information, asking how Shu first encountered this person and whether he knows their true identity. Shu, who is completely confused like a simpleton kid due to his missing memories, fails to answer. Kisara, who is listening to the conversation from the side while also chopping onions, cries silently. Just as Tetsuya and the others compile a list of suspects, a black car lurks outside Shu's house, and inside it, a mysterious informant listens to their conversation. Suddenly, Ayano's car arrives, startling the informant, and the latter speeds away like an incel from a woman. Inside, the suspect list includes names like Ayano, her mother Akino, and even the president of the anti-demon team. Kisara jumps in, marks Ayano's name, and angrily declares her the chief suspect. An alarmed Shu urges Kisara to calm down and not say something bad about his side chick. At that moment, Ayano also walks in and mentions the strange car outside Shu's house. She then notices the list of suspects on the board and demands to know why they suspect her of working with demons and why her name appears on the list. Miles, flustered, hesitates, but Tetsuya clarifies that they're considering all possibilities to create a comprehensive list. From the side, Kisara insists she suspects Ayano the most, escalating Ayano's anger. That afternoon, Shu, Akino, and the president of Anti-Demon T review the same suspect list, which includes their own names. Shu is slightly embarrassed and apologizes to them for the inclusion. Elsewhere, Shu visits Sharon in her holding cell to get answers about what happened and why she was in the city. He warns her that any trickery will lead Kisara, waiting outside, to deal with her harshly. Sharon laughs at the threat and asks what Shu wants from her. He demands to know what she's doing in the city and what the demons are planning. However, Sharon teases that Shu seems to remember nothing, as he's been giving all his memories to Kisara. Shu retorts that he only gives Kisara unnecessary memories and that she hasn't taken those from 12 years ago. Sharon suggests he wants to know about Asmodeus, claiming she already told him 2 years prior. But Shu, who has indeed given a lot of memories to Kisara, is unable to recall this and grows frustrated. Sharon mocks that Kisara must have taken that memory too, hinting it was tied to an intimate moment between them. Growing increasingly distressed, Shu gives in and eventually asks who this Asmodeus is. In response, Sharon explains that Shu's focus on his family and Kisara blinds him to other concerns, warning that continuing this way will prevent him from living peacefully with Kisara. And enraged, insists he didn't ask about such things. But Sharon laughs again and says that the agent Shu is chasing right now is nothing more than the puppet of Asmodeus. She describes the agent as someone who controls demon hazards in the city and hides these activities from humans. Thus, Shu declares that he intends to find this person and even asks if Sharon has any leads. Sharon then whispers a cryptic hint to Shu about this mysterious mole in the agency. Later, Tetsuya and Miles sit in a room, with Tetsuya visibly troubled, pondering who the true suspect might be. After a few moments, Miles bids him farewell and leaves the office. Tetsuya, on the other hand, dives deeper into research, and something on his computer shocks him. He rushes out, determined to act, while nearby in the shadows, the informant who was outside Shu's home earlier watches on. Tetsuya then gets into his car and tries calling Shu, but the call doesn't connect. He drives toward Shu's location and finally gets through with the call. He tells Shu he needs to meet him urgently, but a gunshot rings out, startling Shu. Alarmed, Shu rushes to the location with Kisara by his side. But when they arrive, they find Tetsuya's lifeless body slumped in his car. Shu gives an overdramatic and overused movie montage of falling to his knees in despair. Suddenly, they notice a shadowy figure sprinting through the parking lot, and immediately, Shu as well as Kisara give chase. As they get closer, Shu realizes the person is the same informant who had been feeding him intel. Believing this man to be Tetsuya's slayer, Shu and Kisara manage to capture him after a brief pursuit. To their utter shock, the man introduces himself as the blonde beta simp Mikhail. Shu threatens to expose him unless he confesses, but Mikhail insists he isn't the one who eliminated Tetsuya, and to prove his innocence, he takes them to a hidden surveillance facility. Inside, Shu and Kisara are stunned to see a high-tech operation where dozens of people monitor live feeds from CCTV cameras placed all over the city. Like a closeted pervert, Mikhail reveals that he has access to nearly all security footage in Beiran City, which is how he always stays a step ahead. They pull up the surveillance footage from the time of Tetsuya's murder, but the recording only shows the back of a hooded figure pulling the trigger and walking away. Disappointed and frustrated by the lack of information, Shu is no closer to finding the perpetrator. The next day, Shu attends Tetsuya's funeral, and after the service, he is offered a ride home by Miles. During the car ride, Shu glances at Miles's arm and notices a tattoo that sparks a grim realization. Without showing alarm, Shu remains calm and quietly asks Miles why he eliminated Tetsuya. Miles confesses to Shu that Tetsuya discovered the truth, as he had figured out that the only person besides Shu who had first-hand access to sensitive demon-related information was none other than Miles himself. Realizing that his cover was blown, Miles was left with no choice but to eliminate Tetsuya, his own partner. He takes Shu to an isolated park, where Shu calmly reveals that they're currently surrounded by police forces. Miles smirks as he knows that human cops are like paper soldiers for him, and suddenly begins to transform into a demon. Everyone nearby is stunned as his monstrous form emerges. The police open fire immediately, but Miles effortlessly deflects every bullet with a powerful energy shield. Shu, caught in the emotional chaos, turns to Kisara and asks if there's any way to capture Miles alive. Kisara solemnly tells him there's not, as Miles eliminated Tetsuya, and if left unchecked, he would continue his spree. She warns Shu not to be a weak hero and to put his emotions aside for the greater good. Suddenly, Miles unleashes a chain of powerful attacks which mainly target Ayano. The assault injures her, and just as he's about to finish her off, Sharon arrives on a speeding motorcycle, slashing at him multiple times. However, the dumb woman doesn't realize that Miles, being a demon, quickly regenerates from her attacks. He swings at Sharon, but Ayano intervenes at the last second, disrupting his attack and giving Sharon a chance to retreat. Shu, realizing there's no other option, finally gives Kisara the signal to end it. He kisses her, transferring his energy, and asks her to preserve Miles's memories before delivering the final blow. Kisara, now fully powered with plot armor, charges at Miles just in time to sever the chains heading toward Sharon and Ayano. Miles kicks her back, but she recovers quickly and resumes the offensive. She dodges his attacks and manages to cut off the rest of his chains. Miles punches her hard, and though she blocks with her sword, while airborne, she regains balance and dives toward him, stabbing him in the back. Miles yanks out the blade and hurls her away, and then sets his sights on Shu before charging at him. Shu, prepared this time, lifts his gun and fires a precise shot into Miles's head, unaliving him on the spot. Kisara then walks over, puts her hand into the fallen demon's hand like some amateur surgeon, and extracts his final memories. In the memory, a young Shu watches as Miles becomes close to his family. Over time, Miles forms a genuine bond with Shu's parents. However, everything changes when his daughter falls critically ill. Desperate and consumed with grief, Miles spends all his time at the hospital until one day, he's approached by the most powerful demon, Asmodeus. Asmodeus promises to cure his daughter if Miles agrees to follow his commands. Out of desperation, Miles accepts the deal. That night, he travels to a dark cave where he finds Asmodeus in the shape of Shu's mother. Shu's father lies dying on the floor, while Asmodeus prepares to finish off Kana, Shu's younger sister. Just before the final blow, Miles intervenes and saves Shu, insisting it wasn't part of their agreement, and rather surprisingly, Asmodeus lets Shu live. Miles then carries the unconscious boy out of the cave, just as a massive explosion destroys everything behind them. Later, true to Asmodeus's word, Miles's daughter makes a miraculous recovery. To repay his debt and perhaps ease his guilt, Miles begins fostering Shu as his own child, raising him like a son. Shu and the others return to their base and begin discussing the growing mysteries surrounding Asmodeus and the reasons behind Shu's father's death. To everyone's surprise, Sharon launches into a bizarre PowerPoint presentation, explaining her theory. She shows that throughout history, there's been a demon who constantly reappears by possessing different women. More importantly, wherever this demon appeared, there was always a sudden surge in demonic activity, resulting in the area being completely destroyed. Sharon concludes that they've been chasing the same demon for centuries, which is Asmodeus. Iono suggests that Asmodeus may have first appeared in Bayron City 12 years ago. However, her mother tells her to shut her trap, insisting that the demons emerged first and Asmodeus appeared later, drawn to the city's core, which is a precious energy source all demons are attracted to. According to her, all the answers are hidden in the old mine that sank into the ocean during an incident 12 years ago. Motivated by this theory, Iono storms out and drives into town to meet her friend, Lifa, who is clearly annoyed and demands to know what Iono wants. Iono shows her photos of the ocean, pointing out the general area where the mine used to be and demanding its exact coordinates. Lifa, however, tells her that the area is completely restricted and off-limits to civilians, and this isn't some movie to just dive into a huge ocean. The situation escalates when Iono drives to a bridge with Lifa, questioning why the government has hidden this information from the public. When Lifa remains tight-lipped, Iono pulls out a gun and demands the coordinates again. A scared and anxious Lifa insists she doesn't know the precise location. Suddenly, a missile crashes into the road right ahead of them, but Iono swerves just in time to avoid it. Shocked, she turns to Lifa and accuses her of being a snitch, betraying her to the government, but Lifa looks just as confused and frightened. Before they can figure things out, a blonde man with a mechanical arm slams into their car. On top of a nearby tank, a loudmouthed soldier and a man with an afro yell at Iono, telling her she's surrounded and her mother and headquarters are under siege. Just then, blonde beta simp Mikhail appears on screen. He greets Lifa casually and asks if she's okay, but Lifa tells Mikhail she just came out for a drive with her friend and she's fine. Mikhail, however, doesn't seem to care and orders Iono to surrender, threatening to send her mother to MILF Manor. Iono, overwhelmed by cringe and pressure, prepares to step out of the car. But just then, a massive military helicopter appears right above the spot. Everyone is stunned as it opens fire, suppressing the enemy forces. Iono is even more shocked when she sees the pilot is none other than Shu. Her mother appears on the monitor, instructing her to board the helicopter with Shu, and thankfully, Lifa transmits the coordinates of the sunken mine directly to Iono's phone. Iono boards the helicopter with Shu and they fly off toward the underwater mine. Meanwhile, Kisara and Sharon are traveling to the same destination by boat. Kisara confesses that she can't allow Shu to face more danger and vows to rescue Kana herself. Sharon asks for the flash drive and Kisara hands it over. Sharon reveals a terrifying detail. She shows how every outbreak forms a pattern as Asmodeus is trying to draw something with destruction. And now, that same pattern is almost complete, with the final point resting near the submerged mine. Sharon concludes that Asmodeus possessed Shu's mother 16 years ago. Kana was born after that possession, which means she is a half-demon. Shu, on the other hand, was born before the possession, making him fully human. Sharon explains that Asmodeus's ultimate goal is to create a society where demons and humans coexist peacefully. Unfortunately, this ideal is nearly impossible to achieve, and Kana is at the center of it. She is likely still alive, trapped beneath the ocean, and her existence could be the key to opening a gateway that would allow hordes of demons to invade the city, eliminating millions. Eventually, Kisara and Sharon reach the submerged mine and begin exploring the dark caves. As they approach the center, they discover a young girl unconscious and bound and realize that this is Kana. Kisara is overwhelmed with emotion and rushes to her, but she suddenly senses something is wrong. She spins around just in time to block a kick from Sharon. Sharon explains that Kana cannot be allowed to live, as she is too dangerous. Even if she is rescued now, there will always be the threat of her being used to open the portal to the demon world. Kisara refuses to back down, declaring that Kana is Shu's only remaining family and she will not let anyone hurt her. Elsewhere, Mikhail finally learns about Asmodeus and how the gate to the demon world can be opened through Kana. Without hesitation, he authorizes a nuclear strike and presses a button that activates a satellite-based weapon aimed directly at the island. Back in the cave, Kana's body begins to glow, following which her back bursts open, and a massive demonic hand emerges just as the satellite beam fires. The beam streaks toward the island right in front of Shu and Ayano, but as the smoke clears, they realize the island is still intact. Suddenly, a massive demonic hand erupts from the ground and reaches toward the sky. Kisara, in her demon form, flies above while carrying Sharon. They realize that Asmodeus has now fully taken control of Kana's body. Sharon fights valiantly. Cutting down each attack, Kisara attempts to assist, slicing through the swarm with her sword. Shu, watching from above, turns to Ayano and tells her to take the controls before jumping down, determined to help. As Sharon gets overwhelmed and slammed into the ground, Kisara prepares to intervene. But a clone of Kisara suddenly appears in front of her, followed by a hand grabbing her from behind. The clone moves in and begins strangling the real Kisara. A gunshot echoes through the air and the clone is shot down by Shu, who runs to Kisara and holds her close. He urges her to kiss him so she can regain her strength, saying he doesn't care how many memories he loses. Kisara, however, begins to cry as she tells him she can't do it anymore because she's afraid he'll lose his identity completely. Before either can do anything else, Kisara is suddenly impaled from behind, and blood spills from her mouth as Shu watches in horror. Emerging behind her, holding the spear that stabbed her, is none other than Shu's sister Kana, now fully possessed by Asmodeus. Kisara, impaled by a demonic spear, struggles to pull it from her body but can't. The sheer pain caused by this triggers visions of a younger Shu, and suddenly, the surroundings glow like a cosmic rave. Meanwhile, Ayano maneuvers her helicopter as close as possible to the massive demonic hand dominating the fight, shouting for Shu to climb aboard. Shu, staring at Kisara like a kid ogling candy, tells Ayano he can't leave her. Kisara weakly urges him to save himself, but he's stubborn and is rooted to the spot. Fortunately, Sharon sprints in from behind, grabs Shu by the waist, and latches them both to the helicopter while abandoning Kisara behind. As they lift off, the demonic hand vanishes into thin air, leaving Kisara suspended and still skewered like a kebab. As Kana glares at her angrily, Kisara clutches the spear again, and Shu's memories flood her mind. She discovers Shu was a total playboy, having been romantically involved with both Ayano and Sharon multiple times. Furious, she rips the spear free and turns on Kana, blind with rage. She raises her weapon to chop off Kana's cute little head, but stops at the last second, remembering Kana is Shu's sister. This gives Kana time to charge a powerful beam, and she blasts Kisara, who plummets unconscious into the ocean. Shu, dangling helplessly from the helicopter, watches this like a useless sidekick in his own story. In the meantime, Ayano tries to pilot the chopper away, but Kana appears in front and gets ready to launch a magic attack. Upon seeing this, Ayano screams that Shu, her brother, will die if she strikes the chopper. Kana suddenly pauses and glances at Shu, but before she can act, a massive laser engulfs her. Mikhail, who's been utterly useless until now, has been observing from a command center. He has decided to nuke Kana as he deems that she is a threat to the entire city. However, as the dust clears from the laser beam attack, Kana's still floating. Frustrated with his second-hand weapons, Mikhail orders yet another strike. This one destroys Kana's wings, and she falls into the ocean beside Kisara. Shortly afterwards, Ayano, Shu, and Sharon rush Kisara to a hospital. Sharon reports the doctors can't find a heartbeat or brain waves, and even Kisara's demonic healing isn't working. Ayano asks if she'll wake up, and Sharon says they can't tell since she's not human. Ayano inquires about Kana, who, per satellite data, lies motionless 200 meters underwater. Ayano also wonders if she's dead, but Sharon doubts it as Kana survived a spear through her chest for 12 years. The laser likely only paused her, and she will undoubtedly return for revenge. However, like a hopeless optimist, Ayano asks if Kana could live as a human again. Sharon says it depends on whether someone can awaken her humanity, but warns that her organization, Celestial Abbey, deems Kana an S-rank demon, and they'll send agents to eliminate her, though Sharon fears Kana might destroy the city first. Meanwhile, Mikhail plans the city's defense and is hyper-focused on eradicating Kana. His sister, Linhua, suggests saving Kana's human half, but Mikhail argues the risk is too high, as she could annihilate everything. Linhua asks if the city knows, and Mikhail admits he spread fake news about an underwater volcano to prevent panic. On the other hand, Shu sits by Kisara's bedside, praying for her recovery. He decides Bayron City is not worth fighting for without her, and if she wakes, he'll abandon everything to run away with her. Miraculously, Kisara stirs, saying she cares only for Shu and promises to keep him safe. Shu hugs her tightly, and she urges him to flee and stop fighting demons. In response, he smiles and agrees they will leave together, but Kisara says she can't go. Shu offers his memories to restore her strength, and she asks if he's sure about the decision. Shu confirms, and they share a long kiss, but instead of losing memories, Shu regains them all. Shocked, he tries to stop her, but Kisara holds him down, kissing him as his past floods back. He recalls working with Ayano, his ex, and breaking up with her at a restaurant, claiming their relationship wasn't working. Ayano, who was a crying mess at the spot, thought it was because she was bad at making sandwiches. Shu, however, explained they could only handle D-rank demons together, and he needed a solo journey to grow stronger. Later, he met Sharon while both were hunting a frozen demon, which was none other than Kisara's body that lay impaled in a cave. Shu lies to her, saying he wanted a treasure hidden in the cave and not the demon, and teamed up with Ayano. However, he then stole Kisara's body and, back at his apartment, used a magic circle and a black magic book to bind her, paying with memories for her obedience. He planned to use Kisara to kill demons and climb Bayron City's ranks. One day, he bragged to Ayano that demons trump humans and even confirmed he lived with Kisara. Jealous, Ayano warned he'd lose the real himself, but Shu smirked, claiming that he had a foolproof exit plan. Later, he gave Kisara a contract book, saying it'd simplify their hourly rituals, binding them until the contract was cancelled. Like a shady salesman, he downplayed the terms as basic stuff and set the ritual for 6 hours later. Kisara, a nerd who reads everything, spotted a missing term and found tiny text on the last page. Using demonic vision, she saw that Shu could cancel the contract alone. At the ritual, he repeated the mutual cancellation lie, expecting her to touch his head. Instead, Kisara kissed him, and as a confused Shu protested, she revealed that she had rewritten the terms. Now, kisses would activate her power, and only she could cancel the contract. Back in reality, Shu grabs Kisara, demanding answers, but it's too late. She has unilaterally canceled the contract, losing all her memories of him, their bond, everything. She's awake, but a stranger, leaving Shu with his past, but no future with her. As Kisara asks Shu who he is on the other side, Kana finally awakens from her power nap and flies above the ocean before shooting a powerful beam off in the distance. This beam ends up hitting an airport, destroying numerous airplanes. Meanwhile, Mikhail, like all incompetent leaders, finally orders the release of Ayano's mother from her jail cell, as she finally realizes that she is the only one capable of guiding her troops to defend the city properly. Back at the hospital, Shu tries to help Kisara remember who she is, but she doesn't even remember her own name. He then kisses her on the forehead, grabs her sword, and leaves the room, ready to face Kana in battle. Meanwhile, Ayano is also fully suited up and waiting near the ocean, ready to face Kana. Sharon rides up to her on her motorbike and tells Ayano she's only here to say goodbye because she is fed up with this constant violence and leaving this wretched city. Elsewhere, Shu, like a shopaholic, orders something from Amazon, and thanks to Prime, the delivery is lightning fast. He gets in the truck and starts sorting through his new gear. Meanwhile, as Kana approaches the city, Ayano's mother gives the order to open fire. The military unleashes a full-scale attack on Kana, including an assault helicopter pouring bullets at her, creating a massive smoke cloud. To their surprise, as the smoke clears, Kana appears completely unharmed. She has generated an energy field around her body that protects her from all damage. Mikhail instructs them to keep attacking as they must not allow this demon to set foot in the city. The army opens fire again, but Kana remains calm, absorbing every attack effortlessly. Ayano decides to take action and brings out the heavy artillery. She fires a massive rocket launcher at Kana, and this seems to finally have an effect. When the smoke clears, Kana's shield is gone, and she is furious. She locks eyes with Ayano and begins charging her next attack. Ayano runs and hides behind a tank, barely avoiding a barrage of powerful blasts. The army resumes fire, but Kana flies past them, relentlessly chasing Ayano. As Ayano turns and shoots back, her shots have no effect. To make matters worse, her gun jams, forcing her to confront Kana at close range. The latter begins charging her powerful beam point blank and would have annihilated Ayano, but Shu arrives just in time, snatching her away as the area is obliterated by Kana's beam. They land on a rooftop, and Shu tells Ayano that he's regained all his memories and that Kisara no longer remembers anything. Ayano asks what they're going to do now, and Shu tells her they have to fight with everything they've got and hope they can reach Kana to help her regain control. Shu explains they will lure Kana to an abandoned power plant to avoid civilian casualties. Ayano is confused and asks why Kana would do that. Suddenly, Sharon appears and says Kana will come because she hates Ayano and every other girl Shu has ever slept with. According to Sharon, Shu and Kana are connected on a spiritual level. Even while Kana was sealed beneath the ocean floor, she was forced to watch Shu's relationships. In the end, she's just a little girl, one who is jealous of the other women in Shu's life. Just then, Kana bursts through a nearby building, searching for Ayano, only to be met with a missile to the face from the military, who had arrived ahead of time. This enrages Kana, and she unleashes a horde of demonic beasts to distract the soldiers while she searches for Ayano and Sharon. Surprisingly, Shu appears in front of her on his hoverboard, shocking Kana. She raises her arm to blast him, but is unable to do it as Shu speaks gently about how he wants to stay with her as she is his only remaining family. His words cause Kana's human will to stir within her. Realizing it isn't enough, Shu snaps his fingers and apologizes for what he's about to do. Suddenly, a bunch of tentacles grab Kana. At the same time, Iono fires rocket launchers at her, and Shu draws his sword to rush in. Kana quickly breaks free and flies into the sky, summoning her magical spear. Shu follows her on his hoverboard, engaging in an intense aerial battle. They clash fiercely, exchanging attacks while Shu struggles to stay airborne. He eventually retreats, and Kana chases him, hurling magic blasts. At the last moment, Sharon strikes Kana into a wall with her tentacles, and Iono blasts her again with her rocket launcher. Still, Kana retaliates with another magical blast, but Shu blocks and deflects it with his sword. He then darts around, dodging her attacks and flying straight toward her for another clash. Kana overpowers him this time and knocks him back. As she prepares to finish him off, Iono and Sharon shoot her from behind, buying Shu precious seconds. He tries to attack again, but can't bring himself to harm his sister. Kana kicks him into the ground. As Kana charges at him again, Sharon protects Shu just in time. Kana tries to chase him, but Iono hits her with another explosive, creating another window of opportunity. Shu tries to strike again, but Kana deflects him and sends him crashing into a tree. She then charges at Iono, but is suddenly stopped by Kisara, who appears and blocks Kana's lance. Everyone is shocked as the two demons begin a brutal battle, exchanging strikes. Kana fires energy beams, blasting Kisara away. Shu catches her and tells her to stab Kana in the heart, as it's the only way to immobilize and seal her. Kisara rushes at Kana, dodging attacks while Shu provides cover fire. She lands a strike, but Kana dodges and flies upward. Before Kana can retaliate, Sharon kicks her mid-air, and the military opens fire again, blasting her downward. In a fit of rage, Kana releases 3 more demons from her body and sends them toward the city. Sharon and Iono break off to pursue the new threats while Shu and Kisara stay behind to deal with Kana. Shu kisses Kisara, unlocking her latent powers, after which she rockets toward Kana, and the two clash in an epic aerial duel. Shu tells Kisara to bring Kana within range, and as Kana draws near, Shu fires his anti-demon gun, striking her and finally sending her crashing to the ground. Kisara rushes in and stabs Kana with her sword, ending the battle. In the aftermath of this event, Kana is taken into custody and sealed in the deepest chambers of the city. Sharon returns to her base, and Shu heads to the cemetery to pay respect to his parents as well as Miles. Outside the graveyard, Kisara, who has no previous memories, waits for him. The duo heads back to his apartment, and to their surprise, Kana, in her human form, is sitting in the kitchen gulping down food like she has never eaten a morsel before. Kana, who has run away from her prison, locks eyes with Kana and gets ready for another face-off. To make things worse, Iono also arrives on the scene for a full triple threat catfight. If you made it to the end of this anime recap, comment down emotional damage. And if you like anime recaps like this, watch this video over here.